If I'm being honest with you guys, I have shied away from really actually figuring out my piccolo. There are a lot of feelings wrapped up in this piccolo. The whiteboard is out. Have you guys missed this? It's what you've been waiting for! Yes, my sad excuse of a whiteboard! I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have never actually felt that those notes were that easy until today. I have a lot to process. I have a lot to process. What I really like about the Nagahara Mini, one of the things I really like, you'll notice that there's no cork. It's a metal tenon. I don't have to worry about cork grease. I don't have to worry about the cork drying out. You can see just how much longer that is. You can also very clearly see how much smaller this side is than here. If you look at how the G-sharp key is made here, you'll see that there's like a bump right here. So anytime you need to trill this G-sharp key, you don't have to do it with your pinky on the left hand. You can use your right index finger and just reach over because it's so nearby. I do not have a C-sharp trill on this. I do know that some of the newer versions of the Nagahara Mini has a C-sharp trill. So I am a little bit sad that I don't have that. However, it's not really something that I've ever really missed in all of the music that I have played. If you look at a typical flute foot joint, you have an extra roller up here, which will close both of those keys. And then you have yet another roller up here. You'll notice that this one operates independently. The gizmo is actually one piece with this B roller. So you can see them both moving at the same time, right? Whenever you play a B, you have to also hold down at least the C roller here. You have to hold both down with your pinky in order for all three to close. And that closes every single key on the foot joint, as you can see. On the Nagahara Mini, it doesn't work exactly the same way. You have your C, especially if you're the one trying this, you'll notice that it has a little bit of extra weight. And that is because on the other side, it is actually opening that key back there. Isn't that cool? If you played this and this was closed, you'd be playing a low B. So if you're playing C, C sharp, you actually have to go all the way down to the B here. You don't actually have to press the C sharp key down as well, because with the way that the mechanism works, if you just put your finger on the B key by itself, it will cover both of these keys for you without opening this side. It essentially mimics as if the tube is ending here rather than ending here all the time. It's like you have the gizmo down all the time. The only time you open it up is for the low C. I did decide on a carved lip plate because in the original backup Piccolo video, it was one of the main reasons why I ended up picking the Dija 102. It had a carved lip plate and it felt better to my face. So this in particular is the M3 cut. It kind of blends in on the outside part. If you look really closely, you will see that like there's kind of like an extra ridge here on both sides, and you'll see that it kind of goes upward very subtly. Generally called a wave style cut, but you can see that this one has been carved quite interestingly. You can see that there's like a harsh ridge, and then it's sort of like sanded down on the sides. I tend to be switching off of the flute when I play the piccolo. It makes me feel like I can keep a larger Airstream and this piccolo can still take it. The hole itself, I think, is actually a little bit bigger. And you can see how the wood is carved around it to really guide the air where it needs to go. M3, which is the one I have, features a lip plate with a small wave. There you go. Inspired by our Konami lip plate design for the flute. So it's like a Nagahara design. Chef Maiku, it's like a half lip plate, kind of like a mullet, party in the front, business in the back. How is the balance of the Mini compared to a standard? The regular Piccolo, it feels lighter because there's literally less material going on, but you can actually feel that, at least on a YPC 62, you can feel that it is top heavy. On this, I would say that the balance feels more centered. You also have more material going the other way towards the foot joint. I will be playing with earplugs in to protect my hearing. These are Loop Experience Plus earplugs. The last pair that I had were fortunately or unfortunately named Eargasm. I said it once in the last stream, and then I'm only going to say it once in this stream, and we're just going to move on from that. You can like mute it to different levels. I like how flexible it is. Right now I have one is extra small and the other is small because my ear canals are two different sizes. Specs. We have the Mopane tapered head joint, expertly aged, exotic Mopane, because this is Mopane wood, Mopane body and head joint, solid sterling, silver mechanism, cylindrical body, Nagahara scale for the Mini. They basically had to design their like tuning scale. G-sharp touch lever. Pitch is at A equals 442. I live here in the States where the A here is A equals 440. Why do we buy instruments that are pitched 2 hertz higher? Is so that you have room to push in or out. Typically, you are going to have to pull out a tiny bit. Hans is absolutely correct. Fun fact, if unknown, Europe and Quebec is 442, and US and most of Canada is 440. Yep. We'll start with harmonics. I guess because I can go down to low C, I'm gonna do it on low C. So this is actually gonna be a good time for me to actually figure out how I like my piccolo, because if I'm being honest with you guys, I have shied away from really actually figuring out my piccolo. There are a lot of feelings wrapped up in this piccolo. Okay, I think I picked a piccolo with the exact same problem harmonic as my flute. It's that high G. Okay, that was a high C. I recently figured out within the last few weeks that I have been doing essentially what I'm calling backwards lip manipulation. So I tend to pull back my lip when I'm playing high notes. But this is actually counterproductive because if you think about it, you guys can do this with me at home. So if you blow a steady stream of air against your hand. Now, if you move your hand, if you move it closer to you, it's a higher air pressure naturally. But with that same air stream, if you move your hand further out, it's a weaker, lower air pressure. Using that same concept, you can manipulate how close your lip goes to the opposite edge of the lip hole. It's very subtle, guys. It's very subtle. Don't be like, if you just straight up don't do lip manipulation, you will find that you have to blow up to 4 times as hard in order to play 1 octave higher. If you guys want to look into some citations about this, you'll want to look into Richard Hahn's article, the flute embouchure, and the soda straw. There was another guy, Neville Fletcher. His article is called Some Acoustic Principles of Flute Technique. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I have never actually felt that those notes were that easy until today. I'm gonna mess around a little bit more, and then we're going to draw. I am going to noodle around a little bit more up on the top. The whiteboard is out. Have you guys missed this? It's what you've been waiting for. Yes, my sad excuse of a whiteboard. You guys remember? Here's my sad excuse of a whiteboard. I think the first thing that we want to talk about is the size of the Airstream. I'm just going to give this a try again between the two. then this one is the Yamaha. Yep. Interestingly enough, it's the Grenadilla conical that requires a very circular Airstream and very tiny. Almost feels like you're blowing through a coffee straw. The Nagahara Mini, though, it allows you to have a much bigger, wider Airstream. So you can see how this is why I felt like it was really easy coming off of a flute. Let's talk where I feel it resonating and what my lips are doing. Much anatomical, such wow. Yes, indeed. I'm gonna also see where my tongue is. Pretty much constantly tucked down and back. The absolute lowest notes, I actually feel them like it's here. I'm putting a swirly there because you can feel it sort of resonating there. The highest note, my high C, is like here. Our range of motion, I can feel it going up the tooth and then going further and further back. So my mid-range notes tend to be somewhere behind my teeth. C6 is around here. C7 is right here. So you can see how big of a range there is between C7 and C8. It does feel like it suddenly kind of shoots further back. I would say most of what I play tends to go from here to around here. As you can see, it is very forward playing. I would say that most piccolos do not play like this. You'll also see that I have to leave quite a bit of space over here. Honestly, this is very powerful information for me. The lip action changes. They're relaxed for the low notes. As you go higher, it will jut out a little bit more. You can see how this is kind of strange, how the resonant point moves further and further back into the mouth, while the lower lip edges outward. This is actually exactly how it works on my flute. This is something I learned from my friend. You want to play a piccolo that reacts and responds pretty much exactly the same way your flute does, so that when you're switching between the two, it's a very easy switch. Period. I know it's very expensive. It was not that expensive when I bought it. Inflation is real. The drawings are nostalgia. I'm glad. I have a very small mouth. This is another thing that you guys have to know about me. Please keep that in mind. This might actually be too far forward for some people who have larger mouths. So now we're going to move on to tone color dynamics. It's no wonder I haven't been able to master tone color on this until now. It has to do with the tongue. When I do the very rich tone color, my tongue is down and back like this. But when I do the thin tone color, my whole tongue comes out like this. Isn't that weird? From the front, I am imagining that the cross section of the air, for the thin, it's like this tiny circle. And the rich tone color feels like that. I am mixing in tone color with dynamics because flutes and flute-like instruments historically are not actually very good at dynamics. One of the best ways to fake dynamics is with tone color. A thin sound will have fewer partials and fewer harmonics, and therefore it sounds softer. Vice versa for rich notes, because there's a lot of harmonics in it, a lot of partials, it sounds louder. We will now mess with mechanism. The main keys, very even. Now, granted, I've had this COA quite a few times now. The trill keys I have always noticed are a little bit stiffer. I don't really mind it personally, but some people might. Due to how the mechanism works for the low C, because you're not only covering these two holes, but you are also lifting the B key. Whenever you play a C, that key feels very stiff and very heavy. Now, you don't play a low C very often on the piccolo anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me. All the other keys are, to me, are very, very even. I would say it's like medium resistance. They're not super, super light. I prefer that. Now, you guys probably noticed that up high, I was having a little bit of trouble, but that's because I have not actually yet fully trained myself to do the lower lip forward while resonating high. Excuse that. Do piccolos have any special keys like split E, C sharp trill, or gizmo? The gizmo, not so much, because most piccolos only go down to low D. Split E and C sharp trill, yes. Let's go into articulation. Wherever you feel the note resonating, that's where your tongue needs to hit. My lowest notes, because they're resonating so far out, I feel like I have to tongue around here. As I go higher, my tongue starts hitting like here. When I get to the high register, I start hitting around here. And then my highest notes, I do actually hit up here. Now, when I am double tonguing, because everything is so far forward, you have to make sure two things. You want to make sure that you are not just like trying to jam your tongue forward. You want to make sure that you can release off of the point where you tongue, release in such a way that the middle of your tongue will flip upwards and touch the roof of your mouth. It's more of a tek K, at least in my accent. For example, if we're doing low notes right between the teeth, that's the T part. The K part, I feel like it will release this way, and then the tongue will essentially hit the roof of my mouth like that. Let's say I'm double tonguing in the high register. My tongue actually hits here wherever the note is hitting. The double tonguing will feel like there's even less motion. Your tongue releases, and then the middle of the tongue hits the roof of the mouth like that. So it's and it's just like right in the tip of the tongue. Yeah, the low notes are definitely French style tonguing between the teeth. I call it faux French tonguing because true French tonguing is between the lips. Last thing is just noodling around. Okay, so from actually playing around in the low register a lot, I do feel that you have to be very careful not to smash the piccolo into your face, because you do need all the space right here in the front, right behind your lower lip. So if you smash the piccolo into your face, it's not going to come out. Very natural in middle register. So my thinking is actually, in terms of what I'm hearing, the high F sharp is actually clearer with the ring finger than the middle finger. And I wonder if it's because this is a cylindrical piccolo. On other regular piccolos, conical bore piccolos, I personally noticed that the middle finger F sharp speaks more clearly. Oh, okay. All right, so the C sharp is really finicky. One thing that gave me a lot of grief when I was in university was the Vivaldi Piccolo Concerto. I wasn't understanding all of these things that I just talked about in this stream. And also I was on not a Grenadilla piccolo, but on a composite piccolo, which looking back, I realized did not fit me at all. Nothing against the piccolo itself. This is a personal moment for me. I'm kind of taking back the power that I feel was wrested from me with this concerto. Okay, I'm gonna try something because I am noticing that I'm having some issues with the fingering there. I'm going to try a little bit of a rock stroke grip. I think I am a small enough person that I at least need a slight rock stroke grip while playing a Nagahara Mini. That is hilarious. I am experiencing something very similar to how I felt when I was trialing my Manka head joint. I'm kind of mad. I did not know that it could be this easy. Clearly, I have some work to do to like get used to playing like this, but it is way easier. I actually have to do a rock stroke grip. Otherwise, I can feel that I'm having some like dexterity problems. Along with that, I did notice that I need to make sure that I'm not using like the tip of my thumb to play the thumb key. I have to play it like I play my flute, which is the middle joint. And then that way I don't get that weird grippy feel. I have a lot to process. I have a lot to process. Thank you all so very much for joining me on this very personal journey to figure out my piccolo. I love you all so much. Please stay happy, healthy, and safe. Take care of yourselves because there is no music without the musician. Laters, guys. Bye-bye. I know this looks like lip balm. Do not put cork grease on your lips. Also, maybe don't use lip balm on your cork.